Welcome to another episode of the Tower 26B Racer Podcast. I'm Jim Linsky here with Coach Gerry Rodriguez. Coach, how you doing, bud?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We haven't done this in like a month. First one of the new year.
I feel like it's been a while since I sat in the executive chair next to you.
You know what? But it feels like home. Just right back at it. I'm over the moon that you're here doing the show, and I'm fired up, man.
You know, and when I walked into your studio here, the first thing I noticed was you actually have an executive chair now because you were sitting in that little fluffy fur ball.
My little fur ball is over in the corner over there. I found this chair. My neighbor was giving it away. It's in the garbage, and I got a new one. And that's my quote-unquote new chair.
Well, this is the C-suite of Tower 26 headquarters.
Right. That's right. Well, let me tell you something. Jared, you caught me on a good day because 2 days ago, I could not walk. My back was so jacked up that I couldn't take one step. You've had this before. How the hell do you deal with this pain?
Welcome to the aging process.
Well, so I'm able to move today. I'm able to talk. I'm on some wacky pills. So if I say some things that are kind of out of the ordinary for me and you're not used to hearing, blame it on the pills.
Well, you know, one of the things that as we're bantering back and forth here, I decided to do some homework at the end of the year, which I always do about our podcast, and other things at Tower 26, sort of a year in review and see how we're doing. And so I went into AI.
All answers.
Oh, yeah, I went online and I went into a number of the different search engines, and I asked questions about our podcast.
Yeah.
I wanted to see.
He just says, awesome.
What is in the, and there was a lot of that, which was great. So thank you for that. There really was. But then there were two common themes, Jim, that came up. One is that I stopped listening to the podcast because there's too much bantering or too much time wasted before they get to the meat of it.
Yeah.
So they didn't like that. They didn't like.
Okay.
They didn't like exactly what we're doing right now.
Go ahead. I'm going to rebut AI, but you go ahead and you keep telling me.
So they just said we crap around too much until we get to the meat of the stuff, and then they have to fast forward. So I just want to let you know.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, AI.
Then number two, well, thank you, AI. AI is just corralling in all the data that's out there that people post, right? And then secondly, that we're catered too much to the Ironman and half Ironman athlete.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
What do you think about
that? I know we talk a lot about Ironman, a lot about half Ironman. I race Ironman. I race half Ironman. Most of our athletes do the same thing, but sometimes we get caught in a bubble and we have to realize that there's more people out there. There's people listening that have never taken one swim stroke in their life, let alone going to do an Ironman. And maybe we should be a little better at spreading the wealth and talking a little bit from the ground up. Hey, doesn't make a difference if you're doing or making it, because everything we say is actually geared towards all the swimmers.
Who are you?
Well,
I expected you to rebut that.
I'm going to rebut that. I'm going to come back to the last point, but we always talk about this, but really what we say, it's geared towards all swimmers. Maybe they get that feel that it's for the longer distance swimmers because we talk about those races more often because those are in the limelight and those are what a lot of athletes do. But really, if you take the education that we're giving, it's for all the swimmers out there. So,
well. And that's my exact take. I know we didn't talk about this. I just decided let's bring it up so we can get some feedback from the listening audience. I do think because we do coach lots of half Ironman and Ironman athletes, but if we were coaching only sprint athletes, super short distance, all the way up to Olympic distance, the content would be the same.
Totally.
It really would be the same.
Really, yeah.
We might have a little less time spent on how much nutrition you actually need for a 6-hour to a 12-hour race because those are much shorter. Right. But the content and the swimming mechanics and everything will be exactly the same. I think we're just probably using the words Ironman and half Ironman too much, and therefore it's being received from somebody who's fairly new to the sport, beginners, say anyone in their first couple of years. I can understand how that might be somewhat unattractive.
Yeah, and if someone's listening, they want to hear more about short course or sprint or Olympic distance racing, and there's a specific question, write us, right? GERY at tower26.com. We'll make sure we get it answered, but we'll do a better job at making sure that we're all encompassing. I think that's
you give it my email this time, huh?
Of course, Steve, you take the emails. So, but let's go back to the first point.
Oh, that's where
I was just my first shower in 3 days. I was thinking about what are the things that I'm going to talk about on this podcast. So we back up. An example I've been using lately. I talked to you about this is. And forgive me for my bantering, but example is the Peloton. Peloton a few years back, they were penny stock. You remember this? After the pandemic, the world opened up and everybody lost interest in Peloton.
Yes.
A new CEO came in.
$140 down to 3 or 4.
Yeah, a new CEO, that's when you had to downgrade your house, right? A new CEO came in and he said, okay, what separates us from everybody else? Sure, we have the education, we have the content, we have the hardware, but what separates us is the personalities and the knowledge and the experience of our instructors, right? So he put a spotlight on those instructors and showed who they were as people as well as who they were as coaches. And he made the athletes actually feel like they were friends and part of the tribe of the Peloton. So now all these people came in the Peloton and they say, I'm beholden to that instructor or that coach, that I'm that coach's athlete, because they feel like they know that coach. It's not just somebody who's a face in social media, right? So they really, so what I'm trying to say here is, by us having our little banter, sure, it wastes a little time, but also it gives us relationship with all you guys out there on the interweb, on, if you're listening on podcasts, on Apple iTunes, on YouTube, watching on Spotify, whatever you're doing, it shows you who we are as coaches. We're not just guys, I'm here to give a swim workout, go do 8x200. It shows who we are, right? It creates that tribe amongst the athletes out there, whether you're one of our athletes or you want to come in, you say, hey, I know Gerry. I'm looking for a swim program. I know Gerry. I see his podcasts all the time. I'm going to do the Tower 26 swim subscription program.
Agreed. And in fact, as you recall, when we started this podcast, your idea, right?
Yeah.
You brought it to me, and I said initially no, because I didn't want to do a long format. And then we retooled and talked about it again, and I said, we're going to make this 45 minutes, and here are the segments, and I presented it to you, and you said, okay, let's do it. Our podcasts were shorter, right? And we got right to the point, because I'm kind of a no-nonsense guy, as you know.
Yeah.
And it was more of, let's just get this moving along, and less of personality.
Yeah.
And what I learned from you was personality matters. I don't have one, right? You got all the personality.
You've come a long way, buddy.
Well, thanks to you. And then when I saw you on the beach in Kona, and everyone coming up asking for your autograph, then I realized this actually works. People do relate to us more, but they relate to you, and it's helped. So I don't know what the audience wants.
Well, I
think there's a compromise. There's a compromise. And so far, we've BS for 10 minutes. We haven't given any education yet.
The squeaky wheel gets the grease. All the people who don't want to hear the long form, the banter, those are the ones who speak up. Everybody else who comes and gives me hugs and shakes our hands and says, hey, and acts like they know me. And those are the people. They're not writing anything down, but that's the army, buddy. That's our tribe. So, and also, here's my second point. I love being on air, buddy. I love this. I love our banter. I love our talk. I don't care if nobody listens to this thing. I don't care if nobody watches it. This is what I love to do. All right? Last thing. Well, can I say one more thing?
But I'm going to say one thing before you say one more thing. That statement you just said reminded me of the governor of California. There's not a hair gel or a camera he doesn't like. I mean, you're the same with the camera. I mean, you put you in front of a camera, man, and you are just...
turn it on. Yeah. Every morning before I get on the bike, we do these bike workouts. I say, man, how am I going to do this bike workout? Then the camera, how am I going to do this bike workout? How am I going to coach it? Then the camera goes on and boom, on air. There's the personality. So we'll take into account. It doesn't mean it won't go in the cylindrical filing bin, but my second point is Sebastian Maniscalco. You know the comedian? No. Sebastian Maniscalco. He's the biggest comedian in the world.
I'm boring.
Hey, Sebastian Maniscalco. I'm from Chicago. So
yes.
I was listening to him.
Once you said from Chicago.
I was listening to him, an interview with him, and he was talking about his podcast. And he said, you know what? I just really enjoy being on there, and like the way things kind of develop out of the conversation with him and his co-host. He's like, we go into it with a plan, but then things between our conversation, things become exposed, and then we go down a whole different route that shows the audience a whole different side of comedy, a whole different side of the skills. And I feel like, sure, our banter is entertaining, at least to me, but also a lot of times it takes us down a path that maybe we hadn't went down before, we hadn't planned on going down, and we expose, and something else blossoms, and we come to a whole new educational point.
Hey, I'm only telling you what AI said, okay? Here's the net of it. A lot of the successful podcasts, as you know, are 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
I don't personally listen to them because for me, that is way too long. In fact, I just the few times I go to those big name podcasters, I'm just on the 2x speed, and then I'm fast forwarding because it's too much detail for this guy.
Okay.
So I can relate to and certainly understand and appreciate some of you guys that want us to move along. We've certainly not listened to you so far because we've spent 10 minutes doing nothing.
That's our point. Let's move along. What did we talk about last episode, Jay?
refinement, details.
Attention to detail.
Attention to detail.
What does it take to be successful? And it's not just go swim 10,000 yards. It's the detail. It's mindful of the process, every single stroke, not taking one stroke off, not taking one stride off. I was running on the treadmill. I blew my back out because I wasn't paying attention to how I was moving. So especially as you get older, right? I'm 47 years old, and you have to be more in tune with how that body is moving. And
half century's around the corner, baby.
Moving on. Stop your banter, buddy. Come on. That's the kind of stuff we need to cut out. But what we're going to talk about this episode, bud?
Well, I thought we would. We need to review the, what we have. What we're doing in this phase, right?
Right.
We just started our new phase.
Right. Started the foundation phase, which is my favorite phase of the season. A lot of people say the race ready phase, but the foundation phase is my favorite phase of the season to coach and to swim.
Really? Okay.
So we'll get into that. But you had an event at the Santa Barbara Tri Club a couple nights ago. Is that right?
Yes. In fact, I did. I was invited to be a speaker at their event. Yes.
Yeah. And it was supposed to go about a half hour, and then you bantered, and you were there for 2 hours. Right? Got out there at 9, 10, 11 p.m. But you got a lot of great questions during that. And I think the questions that you got during that talk are relevant to what we talk about here on this. So what were some that really stood out that you say, hey, that's a really smart question from this athlete or that athlete?
And interestingly, to AI's point...
you stop talking about AI. We got a name, Allen Iverson.
To Allen Iverson's point, there's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Right.
There's a guy who actually caused a ruckus. They were very basic questions, but very good questions, and are incredibly important because there's so much misinformation in the marketplace.
Yeah,
and I think our job is to help declutter that. Is that a word? We just made it up, right? Declutter.
There you go.
So it started off with one of the questions was about breathing, the most common thing in breathing. Because anyone who has a swim background, who did any sort of swimming, whether you swam a little bit in high school or a little bit on a kid's swim team, and needless to say, anyone who was way beyond that and went into college swimming, breathing, you're taught to breathe less, meaning in your races, especially in your short races, you're taught to breathe maybe every fourth stroke, at a minimum every third stroke. And bilateral breathing has been a big deal, learning to breathe on both sides. So many athletes think that breathing less frequently than every two is the way to go. And so that question came up, and of course, it's not. You want to breathe less frequently, that's fine if you're going to swim the 50-meter or the 50-yard freestyle. Mm-hmm. You look at the Olympic Games, and those athletes in the men's 50 freestyle, they're going to breathe 0 times. 1 breath off the dive, they swim the entire length breathless.
Yep.
The women will breathe 1 time. Other than that, finally, and I've been talking about this for years, but finally now you look at most of the other races, they're breathing every 2 strokes in freestyle. And certainly for the endurance events, it's every 2 strokes, meaning if you're a right-sided breather, every time your right arm comes around, you take a breath. If you're a left-sided breather, every time your left arm comes around, you take a breath. So every 2. And of course that led into, well, what about the balance of breathing, right? Meaning I balance out. I've been taught it's important to balance out. Well, yes, so you can breathe, you can go 10 cycles, breathing 10 times to the right, and then you can go 10 times to the left.
So just every time, boom, boom, right? You're going to the right, every breath, to the left, every breath, right? Okay,
right.
So we're not taking any breaks. It's 1, 2,
no breaks,
1,
right.
2, 1, 2.
So you can go 10 times to the right, then 10 times to the left, or you can go 1 length, breathing to the right, 1 length to the left. So you can balance it out. Just don't breathe less frequently.
Right.
Every 2. Why? Oxygen is your main source of fuel. I don't care. You got the precision hydration sitting over there. That's all important, but it means nothing if there's not enough. If you don't have enough oxygen uptake. So don't limit the oxygen uptake. Swimming is the only sport that does that, and got started whenever it got started, and it's being unraveled now.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of times though, athletes, they start to breathe like you're saying every 2 strokes, and they're taking too much breath. They're not letting enough breath out. It creates this carbon dioxide buildup and, this uncomfortable feeling, so they don't breathe as much. You have to remember that you're breathing out everything you breathe in. When you take that breath, whether it's every 2 strokes, you got to get it out. So you don't need this huge intake, this huge gulp of breath when you turn to breathe, because you know you're going to be getting another breath in 2 seconds.
Well, and to your point, the beautiful young lady that asked the question, and the folks who do that, who breathe less frequently, they're the ones with the big swim errors. Mm-hmm. And here's the reason why. If you're turning to the side to breathe and you need to take in a big breath, which you would have to do if you're going to not be breathing again, not capturing another breath for several seconds, right, while expelling energy, right?
Right.
So you take in a bigger breath, which means you linger, you sit on your side for a longer period of time to capture the breath, slightly longer. On the moment you sit there for anything longer than what should be normal, the body starts sinking. And the first thing you do is you start pressing down with the lead arm. So if you're breathing to the right side, your left arm out front is the lead arm. You start pressing downward, okay? That gives you lift. So you got that left hand is now downward, halfway down the pool, so you're not having a proper setup, or catch, as it's called. That's number one. Number two, you tend to roll more to your side, over-rotate, right? And then number three, that causes the legs to spread out. So typically, lingering breathers, those who breathe less frequently and spend more time on their side, end up having three flaws. It causes three flaws. So let's move away. The flaws are the symptoms. How do you fix the symptoms? Shorter or shallower breaths. You've just trained yourself to take bigger breaths, which then require a longer period of time. So you have to just detrain that, like the Karate Kid. Wax off that, wax on the new stuff, right?
Retrain the body. But you should really be breathing no different than we're breathing right now.
Exactly.
In, out, really easy. But a lot of people get the thought, I'm in the water, I got to take a big breath. What if I don't get my next breath?
Same as running, same as riding a bike. It's the same cadence.
Right.
And with swimming, as you know, your opportunity for breathing is, you make a mistake you don't really make mistakes when you think about it, riding or running with breathing, right? Because there's no sort of resistance. Here you have water resistance and you have turbulence that sometimes you can take in a gulp, right? Yeah. So you have a little bit more to manage. So there's no need to really hold the breath unless you're doing a sprint event.
And you always...
Sprint meaning 24 seconds and shorter.
But you always say, frequency leads to familiarity, right? The more you practice it, the more you get in the water and say, I'm going to force myself to breathe every stroke. I'm going to make sure I'm relaxing the breath. I'm exhaling in the water. You do that session after session after session. It just starts to become natural. You're not holding your breath. You're able to relax more and more. So it's something you guys got to work on. You got to focus on. You got to make sure you're doing it every single length as opposed to just doing it when you feel like it.
Correct. Now, I'm not opposed, by the way, to breathing every third stroke in warm-up, okay?
Right.
Or less frequently, let's say. It doesn't even have to be in warm-ups. But once you get into the main set of your workout, where the set that's the load set, where you're training, right? That needs to be every 2 strokes, period. Right. Every right side or every left side.
And what was another question that came in? Anything on top of your mind?
Another one was about other strokes. Other swimming strokes, backstroke, breaststroke, butterfly, that type of thing. And I thought it was cleverly asked, and it had context to it. And the thing about other strokes is, it's not that I'm really opinionated that we shouldn't do some backstroke or breaststroke. Nobody ever wants to do butterfly, which if I had to select one of the other 3 strokes to do, it would be butterfly. But the thing is, when you take elite swimming, Michael Phelps, because everybody knows that name, or Leon Marchand, the French guy that did well at the last Olympics. These athletes are swimming 20 hours a week, okay? They have the luxury of doing multiple workouts a week, many hours, so they can have dedicated workouts or dedicated times within a workout to doing other strokes. That sort of helps make them a more rounded athlete. The thing is, the triathlete, you have a very small, you're time crunched, right? That's a word that I think Matt Dixon likes to use, right? You're time crunched, so you only have a couple hours for swimming. Most athletes are swimming twice a week. Yeah. And our athletes 3 or 4 times a week, because we emphasize that more. But your time is really small. So you want to get the best ROI, that's a fancy word in the market, right? You want to get your best return on your time investment. So if you're already not very good at freestyle, why are we doing any backstroke or breaststroke, right? So let's nail down what you really need to do well in and do it over and over and get really good at it. So I'm not a big fan of doing other
maybe
strokes.
In warm up and cool down, but I mean,
perhaps
nail the bullseye, as you like to say. Nail the bullseye, get that down, and then you can start throwing in other strokes as soon as you're swimming 1 minute 100s, right?
Right. And we do a little bit of butterfly, as you know, during the racing season, because in short doses, 25s only, and typically we'll even do it with fins on, because it is a harder stroke to execute, but it helps build power. Okay. It also jacks up heart rate, which is good in simulating race takeout speed. So there are reasons that we would throw in butterfly. but to take up time doing a main set and having backstroke or breaststroke in it, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not necessary.
Now, how many athletes asked you about stretch cords and how often they should be doing it?
Interestingly, exactly. Exactly. Nobody did.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because one of the things I would have asked is we had our pool set to 50 meters last week because the national French swim team was in, so they set the
wonderful.
pool.
Oh, that must have been really
Oh, it was
cool.
awesome. There's a little mix up with the lanes. I'm not going to blame anybody.
No bantering.
No bantering. But so what was happening was our athletes were going to the 50-meter pool, and 25, about halfway down, they were gassing, right? They were getting so inefficient because they're used to turning every 25 and taking that break, right?
Right.
So about 25 in, they were getting gas. They're getting really inefficient on the back half of the 50. I remember back when I went and watched the U.S. Nationals in God knows how long, maybe 2009 in Irvine.
Oh, yes, I remember that. You went to that?
Yeah.
I was there.
1,500-meter winner was 27 strokes per length for 1,500. 27
I was there that night.
length.
I had no idea you were there.
Yeah, I was there. 27 every length. And I think our lowest athlete was 43.
And that's actually pretty good.
That's and those athletes I wouldn't expect to. But you see an athlete with a 27 for a 50-meter. Now, that athlete has amazing swim-specific muscular endurance, muscular strength. But how can athletes, obviously we have an efficiency issue if one athlete's going 27, who's an elite world-class athlete, but we come to our athletes where they're averaging 50 strokes for a 50-meter pool. Now that's showing inefficiency. Now make that 1,500 or 800 in a sprint distance triathlon, like what I did there. I worked in Olympic distance and sprint distance, or 2,000 or 4,000. That's much more than 100 or 50 meters. We're getting inefficient. What can our athletes do to be more efficient at these distances?
So is the question, because they're taking more strokes per length and you're comparing it to 27 strokes, you're saying they're more efficient. Is that correct?
Well, obviously 27 strokes is more efficient, but I'm saying our athletes taking 50 strokes for a 50 meter. Right. Now go 1,500 meters for an Olympic distance triathlon straight.
Yes.
They're going to be even less efficient at that distance, a lot less efficient. So that means they're just spinning their arms.
And in open water.
Now this is a deep question, and you're going to have to go on for hours on this one. But how can our athletes be more focus on that efficiency in a 50-meter pool that's going to help transfer to the longer distance that we're going to swim in a race? There's a huge question, but I'm just on the top of my head, me asking you, and if I would have been in the Santa Barbara trial, I would have been like, Gerry, how do I take 27 strokes and not 50 per 50?
Well, so I think that's a lofty goal. There are very few swimmers in the world that are taking 27 strokes. So that's your highly efficient, long, very powerful athlete. And that guy, I presume it was the men's 1,500.
Yeah.
That guy is likely 6'5" or 6'6". So super tall. So 27, I don't think should be a guiding rod for anybody. Most of the men athletes are swimming in the low to mid 30s, and the female athletes are in the upper 30s to low 40s. Mm-hmm. So 27 is super, super low. And this is 27 you were seeing at the Irvine Nationals?
Irvine Nationals, 1,500 meter swim.
Yeah, so that's like really extraordinarily low. Mm-hmm. In fact, I'm not sure if I've ever seen that. So I'm wondering. I'm wondering about your counting.
I counted every single length for 30 lengths, and it was 27 every time.
Yeah, so it's quite extraordinary. The counter to that, Jim, is 1976 Olympics. I'll give you two examples. 1976 Olympics. I know that dates my age, right? Here we are.
2 years before you were born.
Taking a whole right.
2 years before you were born.
And then 1988 Olympics. 88 was a lady named Janet Evans. And 1976, in the men's 1,500 meter freestyle, three guys raced together the entire way, and the guy who ended up getting third, but they were all very, very close, within a second and a half of the three finishers. The guy that got third, the Australian guy, at one point he was swimming he was swimming 57 strokes a length.
Okay.
49 to 50 something strokes a length. It was absolutely crazy. He had this massively high cadence. He'd push off the wall, and he would literally get as far as Emily does. I mean, he had no push-offs, okay?
Yeah.
And it was just high cadence. So but he had good tautness. So he was efficient at a high cadence. So we don't always want to, and Janet Evans was the same way, by the way. She was upper 40s to low 50s, I believe, or mid 50s.
Yeah.
Not strokes per length. Cadence is the other speed. Strokes per length. So one way of remember, efficiency or speed, velocity is a function of efficiency and cadence. You need both, right? So this super freak that you're talking about at 27 is I mean, way out there. I mean, that's extraordinary beyond extraordinary. I don't think that should be our North Star, so to speak. But it's like anything else. It's practice. You got to nail the basics. Tautness, alignment, propulsion, right? You just have to constantly work on the basics. And then in open water, it's more challenging because it's super dynamic. You're talking about world-class swimmers there at 27 strokes a minute.
Yeah, well, I was also leading
27 strokes per length.
I was leading that question into our foundation phase because now is the time that we're going to start building that fitness and that base, and we're building capacity for the next phases, right? The race prep, the sharpening phase, the race prep phase, the race ready phase. And now is the time to work on that stuff, to work on your efficiency, work on swimming slow and efficient and building that foundation where we don't have to go fast. We don't have to be in a rush to get fit. We can take our time, work the different effort levels, work the stroke count, right? Work a low stroke count where we don't have to worry about swimming 130s. You can swim 200s. As long as we're building that foundation, that fitness in the phase of training that we're going to get into here in a second, that's the focus of this. It's not how fast can you swim.
I think the challenge for many triathletes, because this is a sport that tends to suck in a certain type of personality more so than almost any other sport, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're doing an Ironman, I'm not supposed to say that word, right? Whether you're doing an Ironman, so super, super long race, but even sprint races, they're still an hour, right?
Yeah.
For many, even longer. I mean, some sprint races could be 45 minutes-ish, but mainly they're still an hour. That's still an endurance event in other sports, an endurance distance in other sports. So this sport sucks in a certain type of personality that wants to achieve success quickly.
Yep.
Wants to start training hard quickly, right, to get an outcome, the desired outcome. And that doesn't work in swimming.
No.
I mean, swimming of the three, swim, bike, run, you have to lay a careful technical foundation. So if you start over-subscribing on any segment, especially just training, the training segment, which is what everyone wants to over-subscribe on, just want to train hard, that's not going to work in swimming. It's definitely not going to.
So in this phase that we just got into this week, what type of workouts are you programming for these athletes to build that foundation, build that structure that they're going to build off of the rest of the season?
Well, we start with sort of that we identify the common flaws, the common mistakes that beginning athletes, unseasoned athletes, so triathletes, what they're lacking. And the most obvious one is pacing. Okay?
Yeah.
It's really easy at the beginning of a workout in the main set, or especially in a race, to over-exert. And we see it in swim workouts all the time. You see it in track workouts and bike workouts, but in swimming, you see it main set 10 times 100. Let's say you ask for consistent pacing. I want you to swim at a certain effort level where you get a certain yield, an outcome, a time, a performance that's the same. 140 per 100, 140 per 100, 140 per 100. Well, what typically happens is the first 2 or 3 are 134s.
Yeah.
And then they get to 140, and then by numbers 8, 9, and 10, they're at 144s, or 145s, or 150s. So they started too fast. They found the 140, but they couldn't even sustain that, and then they're falling off at the end. So we have to teach pacing, what that requires. And it's really difficult with the personality type that is drawn into the sport to tame themselves.
Yeah, it's true.
Right?
And the hardest thing for our athletes to do is to swim slow. You know, if I tell someone swim slow, I'll have to tell them swim slower, swim slower, swim slower. And that's the 60, 70% effort that we're talking about all the time. And from there, they build up. But I say swim slow, and they go out at their, quote unquote, 90% pace, and they try and just, I don't know, they're just trying to hold an expectation that's unrealistic.
And look at very, very successful athletes, Jim. Let's take the Kenyan athletes that run more endurance events, right? These guys, although when they're running a marathon, they're holding 4:30 pace, right?
Yeah.
For a marathon, or faster now, as they're right at the 2-hour cusp, right? But there are training sessions where they're running 8 to 9 minute mile pace, which is pedestrian for them.
Yeah.
But they do run very, very slowly to lay foundation.
Well, personally, I didn't become the better swimmer that I've become until years of swimming when I realized, hey, check your ego and learn to swim slow, right? I don't care if you're swimming 2 minutes per 100, as long as you're efficient and you're dialed into how you're moving every stroke, and you're not getting ahead of yourself, you're not spinning your wheels, you're keeping that tautness, alignment, propulsion every stroke of every length. You're still going to be swimming strong come race day, but you need to be realistic with your ability levels and know how to swim easy, swim slow. And now is the time, this foundation phase, where there's no expectation, there's no stress on the ability level. You got to check your ego, and you have to swim within yourself.
Well, let's take an example. Since you used the 27 strokes, and you said some of our athletes were 47 to 50 something to up to 60 strokes of length, right? And this is in the 50-meter long course pool. This morning, and this is compliments to you, Miss J, who I know you've been working with quite a bit, right?
Bill, yeah.
And she was, and I get to see her swim very infrequently now. She was swimming really, really well. And here's someone who was probably the 60 stroke a length person.
Yeah.
Okay. That's now probably in the upper 40s. And she's really dialed in and working on it.
Mm-hmm.
So spend the time, lay that technical foundation like she did, knock off 2 or 3 strokes, become more efficient. Okay. And then what you do, once you get those couple of strokes knocked off, then you apply training load, which means a little bit more volume and intensity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or a reduction of rest in a main set, and see how close you can come to maintaining that higher efficiency level. Meaning, in her case, the example I gave, maybe she can go 47 strokes a length, okay?
Yeah.
We don't swim in a 50-meter pool, but since you brought that up as an example, and see if she can maintain within a couple of strokes of that in a main set.
Yeah,
Because
but that's the hard part.
Once you put load on, then you're stressed, right?
Yeah, and that's the hardest thing. All of a sudden, you go from a warm-up set where there's less stress. All of a sudden, Coach Gerry comes and says, okay, we got 8 200s on the next set. I want them all at 80% effort, and you're just fighting to hang on to the 80% effort because you took it out too hard, and all of a sudden, you went from 20 strokes to 30 strokes per 25, and things just start to go downhill. But that comes with education, it comes with experience, and it comes with maturity to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to take it out at 4 minutes per 200. That's my realistic 80% right now. And if I can go faster and a little bit faster in the end while keeping that same efficiency, I'll do it. But I'm not going to get overzealous with my effort when I take it out, because now is the time to really focus on that efficiency and being realistic with those ability levels.
And in this sport, patience is really required, right?
Oh, totally. And, bringing it back to Jacqueline, we talk stroke all the time. She's on all of our chords and core sessions every single Monday. We talk about her stroke. She debriefs me on what happened in the swim workout. Every single stroke, she's dialed into how she's moving, and you see you see what's happening.
This morning,
she sees the gains, and she knows she's accountable to me, to you, right? She says, I have to report in as to what happened in this session, so I'm really going to dial in, and I'm going to be accountable to these guys.
So one of the questions that came up, I talked about some of the don'ts. Here are some of the don'ts in triathlon swimming that are different than swimming. So this guy put his hand up, and leading into that, I also talked about, we have this open access today of a plethora of information, right? The web has given us opportunity to gather more data than you can ever want.
Yeah.
So you type in, how do I do the proper triathlon swim stroke? And you can probably find 25,000 articles and just as many videos, okay? The issue is many of those are not qualified to be, that you should be reading or following. So the guy asked, he said, and you could tell this as a new triathlete. In fact, he identified himself as new to the sport. He's going to do his first triathlon, a shorter distance race. What are some of the things, and he's on YouTube, what are some of the things he should stay away from YouTube?
He's watching YouTube to learn how to swim. And he's a sprint distance athlete. That's what we're focusing on in this episode, is all sprint distance athletes. So there you go. I like it.
So I'll tell you, what answer would you have given him?
What was the question?
He said, I'm on YouTube and I'm learning off of YouTube, because I said you should stay off of YouTube, was what I said.
Yeah.
And so he then said, what are some of the things since I've been following YouTube and following whoever he's following, what are some of the things I shouldn't do that's common on YouTube?
I don't even know. I don't look at YouTube for these things, so I think you'd have to fill me in. I only watch you on YouTube. I don't watch my Rodriguez content. I don't know. What are wacko swim coaches saying out there?
I told him I'm going to put parental controls on his YouTube and that he can only listen to the Tower 26 podcast.
There you go. I like it. See, with all the banter.
And I told him he could listen to Brenton Ford in Australia, who I think does a fantastic job.
Great.
But stay off of it because there are people on there like Rowdy Gaines, okay?
Yeah.
We all know, and we're going to talk about in a while, who could provide, and Rowdy's a known name, right, in the sport of swimming, at least as a commentator, and was a former Olympic gold medalist, right? So if Rowdy says something, you're going to go, okay, I'll write that down, and I'm going to start doing that. Well, guess what? Rowdy's a pool swimmer.
Yeah.
Olympic Games, 100-meter freestyle. What's the application to your open water swim before you bike and run?
Yeah, very different swimming. It's
yes.
a different sport. It's like going into a 100-meter sprint or a marathon. You don't train the same way. It's still running, but it's not training the same way.
So basically, stay off of YouTube. There's 2 or 3 folks you should be following, maybe, and that's it.
So what are you talking about, Rowdy Gaines? Where are we going with this?
So
I know where we're going. It's a leading question.
I know. Rowdy Gaines, who I enjoy listening to. I think, like I've mentioned before, I think the guy's going to pee his pants almost every time.
He's an energetic guy.
He is energetic, and he brings a lot of excitement to the sport of swimming. And I think he's quite good at his job. Rowdy Gaines was the guest speaker, or what are they called?
Keynote.
The keynote speaker.
Keynote speaker, yeah.
At what's called the Endurance Exchange for triathlon. And I thought it to be interesting because why would triathlon bring in a swimming personality to be a keynote speaker? So I don't know why. And then I was talking to a coach who said, Gerry, I know this is going to get you goat, so that's why I'm going to tell it to you. And he told me in the talk that Rowdy was giving about something that he said. And he said this, because he got asked a question about how should somebody swim in an Olympic distance, which is less than an Ironman, half Ironman, Olympic distance swim, which is 1.5K of swimming, right?
Yep.
How should they swim it? And Rowdy's answer was, well, you should start really easy, and then maybe and I'm paraphrasing, just gently build your effort throughout so you're at the fastest at the end. Okay? So that is very traditional mile-type swimming in a pool.
Yeah.
That is completely the antithesis, of what the triathlete needs to do, especially if they want to be successful, because it's open water, dynamic, race takeout speed is critical to positioning, right? So I have 2 issues with this. Number one, if you're going to take a job, Rowdy, and by the way, I'm going to call him. I got his phone number, okay? If you're going to take a job, so he took a job. He's probably paid to be the keynote speaker, right?
Yeah.
Do your homework on the sport, okay? Or don't come prepared. Learn the sport. He doesn't know the sport.
Right.
Just as he doesn't know open water swimming that he commentated at the Olympics also, okay? So learn the sport that you're going to give advice on. There were 285 coaches there listening to what he has to say, of which probably 80 or 90% are going to start giving that advice.
Yeah.
The seasoned coaches are going to know, oh, that's, throw that away. But, so I have a little bit of an issue with Rowdy not being prepared, okay? My bigger issue is actually with whoever was in charge of selecting keynote speakers.
Yeah.
We have enough people in triathlon that could be a keynote speaker. Enough. I don't know why you have to go outside of the sport, which then leads to, and it's a little bit embarrassing if you're Rowdy. I mean, you're making a pretty big blunder here. Why put your reputation on the line?
And it's also, they even if you don't, let's see, what was I going to say? Even if you don't believe him saying take it out easy and, finish strong, what if an athlete hears that, and then that's the way they're going to train, right? They're going to train, I just have to train easy and then and then finish strong. And then they get into a race-like situation. And it's just so dynamic, and there's people everywhere, and their heart rate's jacked up, and they get out to the first buoy, and their heart is exploding because they didn't practice that hard effort at the start of a set that mimics that heart rate explosion, right? So it's like you're not preparing the athletes for the realities of the race.
Now, the positive thing about what Rowdy said, by the way, so let's, I'm beating up on him a bit, but let's get down to where there's value. For the absolute beginning athlete, okay, who is doing their first race, who's highly uncomfortable, in swimming, unsure if they can even make the distance, and they've never done an open water swim before, and it's a lot of people around. I think that advice is good. Start really easy, find some open space, and then gradually build your effort. I think that's fine advice.
Yeah.
But the moment you get somewhat seasoned and you're fit, okay, that advice is out the window.
Yeah.
And you're dealing at the convention, at this, whatever it's called, exchange, which are 285 coaches, of which many are elite coaches. In fact, our national team coaches were there, right? That is not the advice that we should be giving.
Right.
So get the right speakers, do a better job at filling the, who should be a keynote
there's
speaker.
a whole bunch, 2 right here that would take that job in a second.
Well, you would.
There you go. Well, I would have to, obviously. All right, so let's talk about the foundation phase. Can we show a workout, maybe a workout from subscription plan as to what these athletes are going to be seeing when they do the subscription workouts? Coaching.tower26.com. Gerry will show one of the first.
Not there yet.
You're not there. I'll banter while you're doing it. But he'll show one of the first foundation workouts that we just got into this week, and you'll see how we're working the different effort levels. You're going to see the audio file. You'll see all the video. So all this stuff is included in the subscription plan, coaching.tower26.com. And because we bantered so much, you see the personality of Gerry and his experience. You believe in him, and that means you follow the work, and you won't just be like, it's just another flash in the pan, just some YouTube nobody. So here is the workout that we did this week.
I'm a YouTube somebody?
YouTube nobody. Now you're a YouTube somebody. So here's the workout this week, coaching.tower26.com. Gerry, what is it?
This was today, and you'll notice in the far left there's a little arrow right up top here, blue arrow, and there's an audio file in it, and this audio file is 5.5 minutes.
So that's Gerry speaking about the session, what to look out for, some key focus points, so you can listen to it beforehand, go into it with those focus points.
Yeah, and look at here in bold. During this phase, specific muscular endurance and power are built out through multiple 3-week training cycles. We explain everything in writing, and then there's an audio file to go along with it. So here is a workout, Jim. There's video demonstration as to what to do technically.
So you have a whole bunch of examples of video in there with audio overlay, so you know exactly why you're doing what you're doing and how to execute it. So it's not just say, go kick 50 on your back or whatever it is, and you say, how the hell do I do that? There's a video there showing you how to do it.
Exactly. So I just collapsed it from all the details to the summary portion, and that's on the top up here. You can see it goes from, as I tap on.
So you can go with all the video, and then you can whittle it down so you don't have any video, and you can print it out and take it to the pool.
So there are 2 segments to this workout, Jim. The first segment was we did a little bit of technical work, because remember, at the end of the day, most triathletes don't have a swimming background, so it's important that you're always working on the foundation of proper triathlon swimming mechanics, right? So we did a handful of drills on how to hold your proper posture in the water. Being on your stomach, learning to be on your side. We did some kicking on your side, which I think is important because let's take the question about breathing frequency. The person who breathes less frequent, who doesn't breathe ideal every 2 strokes, they're always going to roll up in their side more because they have to take more time to inhale. And if you roll on your side too much, a lot of problems occur. So we worked specifically this morning on how much rotation or how much roll is actually.
So we work on these little focus points, these drills, if you will, before we get in the main set, kind of to set your mind right and get you these focus points again. There you go, as you can keep an eye on that as we get through the main set.
Exactly. So we did about 15 minutes of that, and then we went into the main set. And the main set is a repeating main set, meaning every 3 weeks we're going to do this main set again. And sort of measure and map your progress, how it felt. You should take some notes on days like this. How did it feel today? What were your times that you were doing? And then 3 weeks later, let's map and measure some improvements, right?
Yep.
So I did the explanation, Jim, which I haven't done this before, but I tried to use a little different language this morning. I said, let's pretend you have 5 gears. And let's make, because as you know, you can talk to a whole bunch of different coaches, and there's all different types of zones. Some coaches have 5 zones, some have 2 zones, some have 6 zones, right? So I said, let's talk about 5 different efforts. An easy effort, a medium effort, and a hard effort, okay? Let's keep it super simple. Easy, medium, hard. And in between each of those 3, between the easy and the medium, you have an easy medium, right?
Yeah.
So it's an in-between. And then between the medium and the hard, you have a medium hard.
Yep.
So it's easy, easy medium, medium, medium hard, and hard. So that's 5. And then I also wanted to have them distinguish that hard there's still another level after hard, and that's max effort.
Yeah.
Okay, that's like all out. So we're not denoting hard to be max effort. There's still max effort. On the easy, there's still easier, which would be sort of warm-up effort. So really, in my example, it could have been 5 different efforts, right? But I used 7 different efforts.
Yeah.
We added in super warm-up and easy warm-up and then high power output. So I said, in those 5, we're going to work in 2 of those today in our main set. We're going to work in the easy medium, and then we're going to work in the medium hard. So we did the set right here that you're seeing on the screen, if you're watching us, of 1/100, and I have there as a percentage, 85%, and that's 85% maximum heart rate. That's
so it's upper aerobic. It's working.
Yeah, that's medium hard, right? And then we did 1 of those, and then we did 1 swim at double the distance. So we were doing this main set calls for 100s and 200s. Some of our athletes were doing 75, so they did a 75 at 85% or medium hard, and then they did a 150, double the distance, at 75%, which is easy medium.
Right.
And those were the 2 efforts I wanted athletes to hold for the entire main set. And as it went along, you saw we went to 2 swims at medium hard effort, and then 1 swim at easy medium.
Right.
And then 3 swims at medium hard, and then 1 swim. And the focus here was, again, the volume of the set is not very large, but it's like, let's nail the 85% effort or the medium hard, get a time, look at the clock, look at your watch, whatever it is, get a time. Let's say it's 1 minute and 40 seconds, as the example we used earlier today. 1 minute and 40 seconds. When you get to the 2 reps, let's make sure we're hitting 1 minute 40, 1 minute 40. When we get to the 3 reps in the next round, 1 minute 40, 1 minute 40, 1 minute 40. So we're also teaching pacing, learning the feel of what it's like. You're marrying an effort to a feeling and looking for an outcome, a yield, a return, a time that's going to be consistent.
And this is a great one that shows that if you're not in tune with your pacing, you don't know if you don't know that 85%, and you take it out the first one at 110, and the second one you go 110, 120, and the third one you go 110, 120, 130. You do not know your pacing, right? You need to be able to hold that initial 85% 3 times through, and if you can't do that, you're too aggressive on that first one.
And for beginners, it's even more difficult. I coached the same exact workout yesterday in Santa Barbara on one of our beginning athletes. First one was 115, and then he was 120, and then 123, and then 127, and he was 130 by the end. So too fast. But that takes experience, right?
Yeah.
And then we wrapped up the workout with an easy recovery pulling. Ankle strap, buoy, snorkel, and that helps work on alignment.
Yeah, so that's the pacing we want to work on in this phase of training, and we got to make sure that you're in tune with it, you're realistic with it, and you learn to swim truly that easy you're talking about. Hey, this is easy, this is slow, but that's what we want to do. You want to be able to climb the ladder 4 more gears above that easy. So go to coaching.tower26.com. We'll keep reminding you of that. We have a big weekend this weekend. We have our first virtual triathlon of 2026, Jared. This is something we were doing during the pandemic, and it worked out really well. And we've done a couple of years since then, but I'm going to start instituting them frequently throughout the year. I think it's a crucial component of the training to work in these dress rehearsals into our training cycle. So when we go to our sprint distance triathlon, our Olympic distance triathlon, our half Ironman, or Ironman, where the money's on the line, and we traveled to Oregon to do a 70.3, it's not the first time we're practicing our pacing, our gear, our mindset, our nutrition, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we're starting to work these virtual triathlons in. This weekend's our first one. We're going to do a 1,000 swim, a 40K bike, and a 10K run. Athletes can do it however they want. They don't have to do it in order, but they're going to do it, and then they're going to log the results. So some accountability, and then we can keep track of how they're progressing throughout the year on these virtual races.
Is it continuous?
No, they don't have to do continuous. They can do a swim one day, a bike the other day, and
so just get it done this weekend.
Just get it done this weekend, but
and how are you doing it with our athletes?
So we're going to swim tomorrow morning. We're going to do a 1,000-time trial in the pool. We're going to run the 10K out of the pool. So tomorrow at 8:15, we're going to have a 10K run around the pool where we're at. And then Sunday morning, we have a virtual 40K on Zwift that we'll do as a group.
Oh, so as a group
in our
together.
Tower 26 club. Yeah, so we'll have 40, 50 people on there doing that. And then everybody will go in a Google Doc, and they'll log the results, what their swim time was, what their run time was, what their bike time was. They'll add it up. And if they can only do 1 or 2 disciplines, they can only do 1 or 2 disciplines, right? If somebody's hurt, they can't run, they can't cycle, they can't swim, they can only do whatever they can do. But they're going to log it, so it'll keep them accountable, and it'll give them that dress rehearsal, that race day feel. So when they do go to race day and all those nerves are up, For everybody else, they'll be like, I've done this a bunch of times before. Sure, it's not IRL, as the kids like to say, but
what does that mean?
In real life. But you've towed the line. And what gave me this idea, sorry, I'm stealing time here.
No, it's good.
What gave me this idea was whenever we do our 1,000 time trials in the past, we'd have a big to-do at Pally High, right? We'd send everybody out there. We get the time sheets for every 100. We'd have 200 people, members of Tower 26, and 25 would show up, right? Nobody wanted to do the race. They didn't want to put the money on the line. They were nervous. They always found an excuse not to show up.
Yep.
I think the more experience we can have, the more it calms those nerves, the more people will just say, it's just another day. We've done these plenty of times in the past.
I like it. So can folks listening in, how can we do that?
Anybody, if you join the Tower 26 Club, you can be part of the 40K on the Tower 26 Club on Zwift. You can be part of the 40K. Everybody can be part of that.
Is there a fee for that, or that's free?
No, it's free.
Okay.
Everybody can be part of that. They can come into Sunday morning, 6 a.m. You can join that. And then
6 a.m. Pacific time.
Yeah. And if you want to be part of the whole virtual triathlon, just email me, jim@tower26.com. I can send you the link and give you all the information that I send out to all of our athletes.
Are you going to have more of these?
We're going to do these probably every 2 or 3 months. We're going to do one. I would say every 6 to 8 weeks. So that's more. That's less than 2 or 3 months. But yeah, every 6 to 8 weeks.
Good.
So
let's encourage others to join in.
Yeah, I think it's just a fun aspect, and it builds that camaraderie, it builds that tribe. So we have a lot of athletes who love to be around each other and love to be in touch with each other. So it just cultivates that even more.
So a non-Tower 26 athlete can do this.
Well, they're non-Tower 26 now, but if they do one of these, be like, I want to be part of this thing. So they'll be Tower 26 soon enough.
Got it.
So email me, jim@tower26.com. I have an email with all the details. I'll just forward that to you. Sound good?
Yep, I like it.
All right, Gerry, what will we talk about next episode?
Well, we're going to continue on the focusing on the build out of this foundation phase or capacity building phase, and then also share a little bit of my experience with the national and Olympic team athletes that I'm working with.
We have a lot to talk about there, Gerry. It's always a pleasure. With 50 minutes, so it's not too much banter.
We did better, other than the first 15 minutes talking about not bantering.
People love to hear it. I'm going to keep doing it, so I don't care what you have to say. Remember the one that said, "I'm retired," short in your podcasts? Remember that?
Oh, I remember that.
That was one of the first notes we got.
And you got her to join us for like 2 years or
still
3
a member.
years. Oh,
still a member. Yeah, still a member. So
Susan,
you can't get enough of us. Come on. You might say you don't like it, but everybody loves it, Gerry. So always fun times. It's nice to have you in town. It's always good to see your beautiful mug. And for Gerry Rodriguez, Jim Binsky, the Tower 26 Speed Race Story Podcast. Thanks for tuning in for the whole thing, guys. Bye.